Welcome to Aging Insights. I'm Grace Egan, Executive Director of the New Jersey Foundation for Aging. Aging Insights is produced by the New Jersey Foundation for Aging to provide information and resources to boomers, seniors, and caregivers. Today, we're going to tackle one of the many myths of aging. You have often heard, as we get older, we're less likely to change the way we do things and reluctant to learn new things. This myth and others are addressed in a book, Successful Aging, by the MacArthur Foundation Fellow recipient, John Rowe. This research has demonstrated the remarkable and enduring capacity of the aging brain to make new connections, absorb new data, and thus to acquire new skills. Today we'll be seeing clear evidence of this from the work exhibited at the New Jersey Senior Art Show and accomplished through the Master Gardener program. Today's guests include Eileen Doremus, Executive Director of the Mercer County Office on Aging and Trustee of the New Jersey Foundation for Aging, and Bill Hlubik, Department Head of the Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Middlesex County. During our conversation, you'll see and hear many examples of myth-busting as they show us the remarkable accomplishments both on the canvas and in the ground. Also, as we discuss these programs, you'll learn about options of participating in these programs in your county. Thank you both for joining us today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You know, the New Jersey Senior Art Show is 45 years old this year, and the New Jersey Foundation for Aging has supported it for several, maybe the past 10 years. But Eileen, I know each county has its own show, and so I was hoping as we talked this morning you could tell us about it. But I know you have some art interests of your own. I've seen your poetry, and so I was hoping maybe you could explain maybe the connection you have to the arts as well.
You know, I think, Grace, that a lot of us have that kind of a connection, but what we really need to do as we find our passion in life, so too do we need to find how to tap into our own creativity. I express myself best with words. I think, as we'll see when we share some of the artwork that was at the Senior Art Show, that a lot of people have the ability to show it through a paintbrush, through photography, through sculpture, so a lot of different ways, but you know, the ability for us to tap into what makes us creative. And I was thinking too this morning on my way here that we have choices of creativity every day, what you choose to wear, what jewelry you put with you know, your outfit. So creativity is a part of who we are on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's very true, and I think there are a lot of examples. Can you tell us how someone gets in a county art show?
One must be 60 years or older. Every county, most of our counties have shows that happen anywhere from early spring usually through the summertime, because the state art show usually is in September through October. So most of the counties will have their shows and have chosen their winners and all earlier on. You don't have to be a quote-unquote professional. There are several categories. There's the non-professional as well as the professional. There are people who have just started for the first time. There are very seasoned artists who are, you know, working. And, you know, I think the value of the art show is seeing a lot of what your words, when you were describing some of the myths, you know, about that there's so many levels of talent, and they all come through and have an opportunity. There's something about that competitive nature too. I think we all want to be able to show that we continue to do well and thrive regardless of our age. Thus, having juried shows really makes it equally exciting.
How many people enter the Mercer show?
The Mercer, this year we had over 70 artists.
Oh, that's great.
And for the first time we noticed a real influx in the amount of new artists. So we had probably about 15 new artists, and I'd have to say they're anyway in the mostly from 60 to 75 years old. So, you know, a lot of that baby boom generation and a lot of the people are just starting to come into their 60s and all, I think are really finding an opportunity to continue to participate.
I know you said they're a seasoned, but as well as new artists. I mean, do you see that coming in? Are they, you know, what mediums do they work in? Are they, you know, new to watercolors? Were they always a photographer? I mean,
I think the one with, you see more of the new folks coming in is probably photography.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of people think, you know, they take a picture and they see it and they thought, you know, this is striking. Perhaps I could enter it into something. But you have people who are, as I shared, the oldest person that entered in the Mercer County show was 94 years old, and she did a mixed media, so was using a lot of the different media. There were some stained glass entries this year that we hadn't seen previously, some sculpture, different types of drawings, and the basics, the usual watercolor and oils and acrylics seem to be the most popular, but it's really gaining, you know, in the areas where people are entering their good works.
I know in some of the past shows I've seen some digital examples where some of the photographs are modified, and you know, it's interesting that the art show can kind of expand its categories as well. And as you said, there's a professional category, and then there's non-professionals.
Right.
I guess we don't call them amateurs, but we call them non-professional. And I know, can you tell us how people get to the state show? Because it kind of feeds up, if I remember correctly.
Right. In each of the counties, there's usually a first place winner and or a second place or an honorable mention, and all of those who receive the first place award move on to the state art show. You know, you have anywhere between 15 to 20 people per county that are entering. So, you know, when you have almost 250 entries at the state art show entered this year, so it's quite an assemblage of talent.
Well, and I know usually there are volunteers that help to hang the show and to present it, and I know the Union County Cultural and Heritage Group kind of organizes it for the entire state. But it's quite a labor of love, I think, for the people that help along the way.
Just categorizing each of the pieces of art and knowing their value, knowing whether they are professional or non-professional. The folks at the Spring Point Foundation have, where the show is being held at Meadow Lakes out
in Hightstown,
in Hightstown, really have rallied to support this. But equally important are the residents at Meadow Lakes who have enjoyed and really taken a real interest in not only the artwork, but you're showing this in my house and in my, so they're really beneficial to the program. They volunteer, they act as docents at the art show, so it's really a, you know, a nice combination of their talents too.
Yeah. I do want to talk about how it's open to the public, but can you give us an idea of what someone would see when they come to the show?
You will see a variety of artwork that are hanging on, that would hang on the walls at Meadow Lakes. There's watercolor, there are acrylics, there's oil, there's an entire hall in Meadow Lakes History Hall called where they'll show the works on art, works on paper, and the sculpture. So they really have lined each of the hallways with the artwork. I think everybody finds what your favorite is, whether or not it's what the jurors chose, and that's usually how we...
Did you have a favorite piece?
I did. I had a favorite piece that was called My Rock Garden.
Oh.
And it was an entire painting of all different types of rocks. And I think it was an oil done by someone in Camden County. So even though it was not a prize winner, it was a winner to me.
It was a winner to you. And I think that's important because, as you say, if the show is open to the public, they'll see a variety of things. And what's nice about the state show is that after the selections are made and they're sent to the major site, that it is open to the public, and so it's a nice opportunity for people to get a sense of senior art. And it is an annual event, so I guess my next question would be, how would someone get involved in next year's art show?
I think staying in touch with your county office on aging, finding out when the show is going to be. A lot of the offices on aging will also advertise and encourage people who have previously entered, but are always looking for new artists, and be prepared that the county show comes first, and then should you place and win, you would go on to the state show. So it's an opportunity to really meet some of the other artists, an opportunity
that alone, just connecting with other people.
So there's a lot of the socialization and all that goes along with, becoming a part of a creative community.
And I'm guessing there's probably watercolor groups and oil groups that kind of
think too,
work together.
Getting in touch with your local senior art, your senior center.
Okay.
As well as some of the community colleges. They will have art classes, and also, again, an opportunity to meet with others to be creative and to, show your artwork,
your skills, or to develop new skills.
Yeah.
When we were putting the show together, I realized that not everyone feels comfortable picking up a paintbrush or delving into even quilting. I know quilting is one of the categories you can put in, or stained glass. But so that's why we invited Bill, because I do think that there are a lot of other connections people can make in ways to be creative. And so I wanted him to really discuss the Mr. Gardener program. But I think you have been tied to farming and gardening for a long time. So why don't you tell us how you got started?
I actually grew up on a farm in Burlington County, in a little town called Chesterfield, and my family still has a farm there. It's about a 120-acre farm with vegetables and grain crops, and they have some animals on the farm as well. And my brother Ray still farms that area. But I was involved in the FFA growing up, Future Farmers of America, and 4-H and all that, all those wonderful programs. So I've always been tied to agriculture and farming and gardening, and always loved plants and working outdoors. So that's been my passion for a long time.
And I bet you see people who share your passion, but for some people for whom it's new as well. So how long has the Mr. Gardener program been around, and how long have you been involved in it?
Well, I've been at Rutgers in official capacity for 22 years. The Master Gardener program started back in 1972 in Washington State, but for New Jersey in 1984 was the first Master Gardener program in Bergen County. And since then, we've had over 7,000 plus graduates come through the program in the state, across the state, amounting to millions of dollars of volunteer service and giving back to the community. And Cooperative Extension, of course, provides the training to bring the Master Gardeners to the point where they can go out and help the community.
That's what I thought was interesting, the little bit that I learned about the program, that you really offer a level of competency for people and a comfort so people can feel they can take those skills out. Can you give us a sense of some of the folks that really come for the training and graduate through the program?
Oh, sure. The gardeners themselves, the students as we call them, trainees, they can range in age from 20 years old, even younger than that, up to 70 or 80 years old. We've had wonderful people from all walks of life. The interesting thing about the Master Gardener program is you have people coming in and sharing their experiences from many different walks of life. Some of them are surgeons, some of them are artists, some of them are retired professors in another area that may want to learn gardening. And it ranges too in terms of their background. Some can be high school graduates, some can be have PhDs or whatever, but it doesn't matter. People come together, share. In addition to the formal training we do, it's really the interaction, the social interaction among the Master Gardeners themselves that I think is one of the most positive things we have in the program.
Yeah. I know we'll see two clips of two of the gentlemen that participate in the program, and I think it's really interesting to see their background. And at the same time, I know two women that are engaged in the Master Gardener program, one who's a nurse and one who actually works in the corporate sector. So it really is a true blend of individuals.
Oh, it is. We have people that are involved, working Wall Street, doing every type of corporate activity to, like I said, surgeons, lawyers, candlestick makers, you know, whatever,
Right.
and even carpenters that come into the program. So there's, and the interesting thing about our program in Middlesex is we have both the evening and a day program. So for people that are working that want to take the program, they can take the evening program, which is Thursday nights, and then Friday mornings we have the day program. And you'll see that that's offered in many counties throughout the state, that they'll have at least a day program provided.
Well, let's take a few minutes and look at the video of the two current Master Gardeners that are featured in your video.
I'm Max Nimick. I'm one of the Master Gardeners at the Extension Service. I'm a retired microbiologist, and since retirement I've been filling my time out with gardening and painting. I'd like to welcome you to my garden, and one of the ways I enjoy my garden is to bring out my brushes and paint, especially in the spring. A friend of mine was involved in the Master Gardener program and talked me into it. So most of my hours are helpline hours.
I'm Fred Primich, a retired chest surgeon living in Metuchen. I'd like to tell a little bit about my container garden. My interest in gardening goes back to my childhood, when during the 30s, during the Depression, it was a part of living to have a good garden. Subsequently, during World War II, it was my responsibility to dig and care for a victory garden. After that, in college and medical school and practice, I got away from gardening. In 1993, I was floored, and while shopping at a military exchange, I saw a relatively unique container that again got me interested in gardening. This time, container gardening, where I didn't have to do any digging, which I thoroughly disliked.
I know that people specialize in things, or at least I get the sense that they do. Can you give us a sense of when someone graduates from the program, is there a full level of competency? Do they feel like they want to talk about composting or pests or tomatoes? I mean, what's the...
Yeah, the Master Gardeners, what you'll find is that they figure out what their passion is within gardening or working with the youth, you know, doing youth gardening. Some of them are, Master Gardeners are involved in our outreach programs where we go out to the community and we have presentations to members of the community on all aspects of gardening, whether it be herb gardening, growing vegetables, producing your own food to save money, you know, activities where we go out and answer people's questions about problems they may have in their landscape and how to save money, you know, by working together with others to share plants and produce their own food. But what you'll see is that there's this huge range of interest among people. Some people will work our helpline. Then the helpline is in each county, where we actually answer questions from the community on every aspect, from pest control, and we bring samples into the county extension offices.
Oh, sure.
We'll identify plants for people, insects, provide information on how they can best control whatever problem they see, and identify whether it is a problem.
I bet people walk in with the insects in a jar and say, what is it? And,
yeah,
you know.
they bring them in all different forms, sometimes smashed, sometimes whole insects. And we try to take the little pieces and piece it together and figure out what it is for them. And we have a cadre of specialists at the university that work together with us to help answer questions on just about every topic you can think of in gardening and environmental science areas.
Well, I think, as Eileen mentioned, the camaraderie of the artists when they get together at the show, or even as they're preparing their materials for the show. I mean, you must see the same thing with your Master Gardeners.
I do, and the interesting thing about the Master Gardener program is that you have such a wide range and age range of people working together, and there's a lot of sharing that goes on. And when they get together, food is always important at a lot of our events.
Food's important all around.
Right. And whether we're working on an outside project and doing a work party or whatever, where we're going out and planting a garden for the hungry or whatever it may be, having undergraduates and even some high school students in the program, graduate students, people of all ages coming together to work together.
Right.
Really is an amazing thing, because they start sharing stories and experiences in gardening and food preparation and sharing recipes and what have you, and they're really into it, and it makes for a really productive and exciting get-together for a lot of the volunteers. So it's more than just volunteering, it's the community interaction that they have. And then they in turn take that knowledge out into their community and share a lot of that information with the people that are around them.
Well, so. I do think that's a very important part, and I'd like our viewers to understand how they can reach out for the services and how a senior center or a county office on aging can kind of make that connection. So what's the best way, say, for a senior center to get in touch with the Cooperative Extension and get a program?
Well, the best way it would be to go on Rutgers. If you Google Rutgers Cooperative Extension, you will find our primary website, and then it has a listing for each county of the county office, Cooperative Extension office, to contact. And then each one of those offices has a website, and they talk about the programs that they offer. They will provide the helpline numbers if people need information, listing of workshops that are available, because in addition to the Master Gardener program, if people are interested in simply coming for a workshop in an aspect of gardening or horticultural therapy or whatever it may be,
that's true.
They can come in and take individual workshops at the county extension office. And we always try to keep cost very low because we understand people are in an tough economic
crunch.
Times right now. So in that crunch, we really try to make the programs directly beneficial to people, but also at the same time economical for them.
And do you see the Master Gardeners as a cadre of volunteers that are really able to bring these programs to the community?
The Master Gardeners are really our outreach arm, where we may have a class, for instance, of 30 to 50 people each year, and that takes information and multiplies all of our knowledge. You know, we couldn't do all that the Master Gardeners can do for us. So those 50 representatives can then go out once they're trained and go out into all aspects of the community and perform different functions that we would never be able to do on our own. And it's literally millions of dollars per year that's given in volunteer service just from the Master Gardeners. Well,
I was going to say, it does sound like a real outreach cadre of folks that you can depend on, similar to just having, you know, volunteers that can get the message out. I think the horticulture therapy is a very interesting piece that you kind of sort of slipped in there.
Right.
So, and what kind of horticulture therapy, where do they take that? It might be interesting for an extended care or assisted living facility.
Yeah. Hort therapy, it can mean anything that involves plants and helping people to recover from illness or just get them involved in working again and getting their hands dirty. And a lot of the horticultural therapy programs really revolve around people just learning about plants, basic plant science, experiencing the garden for the first time maybe, getting a chance to start plants from seed, do divisions, watch plants grow. I mean, I started my son doing this at 3 years old. He's now 15 and he still loves gardening.
Still hooked.
So yeah, I mean, no matter what age you want to get started gardening, it's a wonderful experience because you burn calories, you learn new things, and it's just it can be very therapeutic for almost anyone.
I know the gentleman on the tape talks about container gardens. I mean, the idea that you can grow probably just about anything in a container, or a raised bed if you have contaminated soil. I mean, these are some of the things you teach the Master Gardeners? Right,
and we actually have classes that specifically Fred Primich will come in and talk about container gardening, and many people don't have a lot of space to garden. And no matter how much space you have, you can garden. And that's what he's talking about within the piece that he does. And we try to encourage people that no matter where they are, whether they're in an apartment, whether they have a small or large backyard, to just get started. Because once they get started gardening, they tend to really fall in love with it. And you can do it very easily with containers, and you can make inexpensive containers if you don't have a lot of money to get started. We even have workshops where we show you how to turn recycled containers, and a lot of times the containers may be donated for our workshops at the Extension Service, and we turn those into planters that people can use. Really nice. And we build our own rain barrels and rain collectors and compost units.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really is a full range of things that you offer. And I have to say, I was thrilled to see the man on the videotape who not only gardeners but paints.
Yes.
Right.
And, you know, I think it's just such a nice blend and combination of the two skills.
Grace, I think you did a good job in selecting your guests, if I may say so. The overlap.
I paid you? I
really,
paid you. I know I
It's
did.
working.
The overlap is remarkable. You know, the ability to be creative in the garden, to be creative in the container,
Right.
to be creative through, you know, artwork. There's a lot of connections there.
Well, and we only want to enhance those connections. So
Right.
the idea that there's County Cooperative Extension and the County Office on Aging and the Master Gardeners and the Senior Centers, I mean, hopefully this program will encourage people to kind of reach out and expand those relationships. So I think it's just really fabulous that you've both come and shared. Is there any last comments that you want to make?
I just think that the county offices on aging, I hope, are starting to build some of those relationships. I know we do in Mercer County, and you know, work closely with them when it comes to our farmers market program, and also it's a real valuable resource for us as well. Yeah.
And you know, Bill mentioned that Bergen County was the first one with the Cooperative Master Gardener program. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would just advise people to go to our website for Rutgers Cooperative Extension because what they'll find is that there's a myriad of programs that are available, many of them free or at very low cost, that are open to residents of all ages and backgrounds, and will provide ways for people to save money, to get involved in gardening, to give back to their community. So,
we want to remind you to find out about senior services in your area or about the next art show opportunities, so please contact your County Office on Aging or your Aging and Disabled Resource Connections. You'll see a list of their numbers on our website, and you may call the state hotline number, which is 1-877-222-3737. We appreciate our guests for joining us and for you, the viewers, for this edition of Aging Insights. We are pleased to have the sponsorship of the Silver Century Foundation, which advocates planning for the second half of life and inspires everyone to live a long, healthy, and empowered lives. Until next time, take care and remember, aging is everyone's business.